Anyhow, I would like to introduce the next speaker, but I'm afraid I can't. We have some very important late-breaking news. So, could we roll the film, please?
So Larry, you talk about innovation. You're supposed to be doing innovation. We're supposed to be doing the smart buildings. I can't figure out what it is. I don't know when it's happening. When am I going to see something?
Well, you know, Bob, I'm working on it.
You're working on your iPad. You want innovation, you get yourself an iPad. I don't even have an iPad. You got an iPad.
This is
so
the
when are we
start of big things.
Okay, looking for big things.
I'll have a decision soon.
Like when?
Like maybe tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Okay,
Not
tonight.
Tonight.
By 9 p.m. tonight, I'll have a decision tonight. I'll tell you where we're going, and I'll announce it on live TV.
Right.
Hey, LeBron, that 9 o'clock time slot you have tonight, yeah, I'm gonna need that slot tonight. All right, is that all right with you?
No, this is my time to shine.
All right, look, LeBron, this Commissioner Peck guy, if I don't start showing some innovation, he's probably gonna send me to Alaska. Not that there's anything wrong with Alaska, but I don't wanna go to Alaska. Next, he'll probably send me to Texas. I don't have a problem with Texas either, but I don't wanna go. Come on, LeBron, I need your time slot.
I told you no, this is my time to shine, and you're not getting it.
LeBron, I tried to do this the easy way. Now we're gonna do it my way.
Hey, let me out of here! Let me out of here! Let me out of here!
This ESPN News Update is brought to you by Verizon.
Hey, Jim, I knew you were looking for LeBron, but you got Larry. All right, look, GSA had this time slot way before LeBron, so here we are.
Everybody is on pins and needles across the country, particularly those curious about Larry's thoughts on how GSA is planning for facilities of the future. Are you ready to go, Larry?
Yeah.
What's new? What's been going on with you this summer?
Man, this whole free agent experience, been going to conferences, meeting with leaders in the commercial real estate, talking to folks in the regions and central office. A lot of input, man, a lot of input.
What have you thought about this process?
This process has been everything I thought and more. We put GSA in a position to have this process where we can hear industry pitches and figure out what was the best possible chance for GSA to ultimately win and ultimately be happy, you know?
What did you expect? Because we've seen 30-foot billboards of FMSP and Larry at Realcomm, BOMA, and Gov Energy. We've seen vendors and budgets clear out all kinds of cap space. We've seen cartoons made about you and for you in part of their pitch. President Obama, for crying out loud, 7 times has commented that he'd like to see you work on the White House. What did you expect from this process?
I did my time at the White House, Jim, and we are maximizing technology in as many facilities over there as possible. But you know, well, certain things like this you just can't control. But I expected to be able to go through this process and be able to sit down with the regions, sit down across from other experts, and hear how they feel about it. Leading in operational efficiency, sustainability, and development of our people. It could help them win and could ultimately help others win.
How many people know your decision right now?
A lot, actually. This has been really a collaborative process with all the departments, the vendors, especially the folks in the regions that I actually run the buildings and will continue to run the buildings. I'm just one person. They're my teammates and really make us successful. Also, our owner Martha Johnson and Coach Peck have really set a tone about innovation, operational excellence internally, and making the market for the real estate industry externally.
When did you decide?
I've been thinking a lot, doing a lot of research, and as I said earlier, talking to a lot of people around the regions. But this morning, I woke up, I had a great conversation with my mom. Once I had that conversation with her, I think I was set.
What was the major factor, the major reason in your decision?
I think the major factor and major reason in my decision was the best opportunity for PBS to make the market and to win now and win in the future also. And making the market is a huge thing for PBS. Jim, you know, ever since I was an intern or even in high school, we always talked about what was the number one thing for me. Help the regions and PBS get better and just wanted to be the best. And we've done some great things in my 20 years, and I want to continue to do that.
How deep of an evaluation do you have to do to go through that to figure out tomorrow, next year and beyond, that equation, that winning?
One thing you can't control is you never know. You never know. You want to put yourself in the position where you feel it's the best opportunity. But saying we can hit the sustainability goals next year or saying we can hit them year after year, those are things you don't know until you go out there and actually play the game. But you have to put yourself in the right position to be able to compete and also accomplish the goals you set out for.
Do you have any doubts about your decision?
No, I don't have any doubts at all.
You've had everybody else biting their nails. So I guess it's time for them to stop chewing the answer to the question everybody wants to know. Larry, what's your decision?
My decision is we're going to lead the industry. We'll lead with our expertise and we're going to change. We're going to maximize technologies in our buildings to make them smarter so we don't have to work so hard. Our buildings will actually talk to each other.
Ever want to go through this again?
This is tough. This is very tough because we've raised a lot of people's expectations also. And one thing my mother told me when I was going through this process and what ultimately helped me make my decision is you have to do what's best for the country. Once I heard that from my mother, the person that I always looked for guidance, it was easy.
Right. Wow, that was something, wasn't it? Anyhow, so our next speaker, his persona is Chippendales, and his talent is dancing. So please help me welcome Larry Melton, please.
I'm too sexy for my love, too sexy for my love, love's going to leave me.
Ah! Yeah, woo! Larry, that was an awesome video, my friend.
Thanks.
I got you a little special gift.
You do?
Yeah, this is my lucky little bow tie. It holds a lot of memories. I had to get through college somehow, but I'm giving it to you.
You don't want me to get undressed and put this on now, do you?
No, it's fine. I think your presentation will be just fine.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks. Hope you enjoyed the video. Obviously, we're going to talk about the future of facilities, but before we do, I guess just the basics, because Bob keeps asking, what is IT? Bob, first, the IT is IT, information technology. That's number one. So, number two, this is kind of how the theory of smart buildings works. You know, people will talk to each other, they'll react, we'll respond to it. Bob, the clicker, when you point it, you don't have to point it at that thing. You push it, those people listen, they do it, they turn the page for you. We're working together. Working together. Yeah, no, seriously, that's the way the technology is working. So it's that's crazy talk. I'm telling you, it's amazing technology. So first, I want to thank the WRC committee, Rob, Jeff, Paul, and Jim, for giving me an opportunity to come here and talk to you all. The FMSP community in the last 18 months has just done a remarkable job getting us up and running. And without those folks in the regions, you know who you are, you're all here. Thanks for all you've done to set us up and get us where we are so far, so thank you. The reality is that we've been at this since 1949. You know, we've been running buildings almost, 60 years now? 61 years? That's kind of crazy when you think about it. And the reality is that 80% of the buildings that are with us today will actually be here in the year 2050. Think about that. So if we don't do something now, we can sit back and wait another 40 years and say, okay, we've hit the century mark, maybe we ought to do something now to do something different in our facilities. We can't afford to wait. We can't. Buildings are changing, dynamics are changing, operational costs are getting critical, budgets are getting tight. We got to do something, and we got to do something now. It's interesting because 18 months ago when we kicked off FMSP, Jeff Neely was at the kickoff with me, and I don't know where Jeff is, but Jeff will remember this. There he is. I can see your silhouette back there, Jeff. Jeff used the phrase saying, our past is our prologue. Quote from Jeff Neely is actually the same quote from Shakespeare, by the way. It sounds a lot better coming from Jeff Neely. I don't know, but it's you know, learning from our past, and the past sets the tone for the future. We're at a point right now that we can't afford to wait. We need to do something now. I hope you understand this, but we have to do it now. We can't wait. First, we know that if our buildings could talk, they're stretched thin. They're running on their max. They're value engineered for low cost. We know that. Probably not the best model, but we know that's happening out there. Facilities managers are often measured on comfort. not energy and operational efficiency. That's something we need to change as well. This is what's crazy, but just following what's going on in the industry, in the next 25 years, facilities managers will not be known as facilities managers, but they'll be known as facilities knowledge directors, because they'll have so much information at their facilities, they'll have to react to it, share with it, and interact with their clients different. That's how the evolution of facilities is changing today. We're making incredible strides. The interesting part here is the red line, $5.90. You can see that's our operating cost per square foot. Consequently, everyone in this room knows about our sustainability goals. We know that every year we try to hit a 3% energy reduction annual goal. And in 4 years, we would hit 30% annual energy savings over a 10-year period. Pretty amazing stuff. And when you look at that green line, look at how much BTUs we're dropping annually, right? Now, you translate that to cost, and our cost is going up, so you say, well, gee, we're working really, really hard, but we're not working really, really smart in the areas we need to work in. So what's wrong? What's not working? Interestingly enough, the blue line, had we implemented a smart building strategy 5 years ago, we could have lowered our operating costs by about $5.37. Again, these are rough estimate numbers to look at our return on investment. Consequently, let's take that and do some simple math. 177 million square feet of owned inventory, right? At $5.90, that takes us to about $1 billion in operating costs. If we would have done, if the savings we could have had, about 52 cents or so per square foot with smart buildings, we would have saved $92 million annually. That's annually. The reality is we can't afford not to do this. I know it's different. We know it's hard. It is a different approach, and we're going to have to go through, work some changes, and deal with the people. The people piece of this is complex. In the next 20 minutes, you're going to hear me talk about buildings, technology, and people. There's a theme here. So, what are we going to do? We've got to target the people. Let's talk about people for a minute. A significant portion of our energy waste in buildings has been attributed to bad behavior. Let's focus on the human factor alone. 32% of problems found in our buildings can be attributed to operator capabilities. Folks, O&M contractors are run by us. We manage our contractors, and yet 32% of those inefficiencies and operator incapabilities are happening right under our nose. The other piece is most of our operators don't know about the new technologies coming out. That's going to be a major change in the dynamic and how we run our facilities, how do we partner with our contractors. We have a lot of work to do in that area. Industry fact, and I don't have the numbers exactly for PBS's numbers, but we're looking at this now. But 80% of our buildings are never commissioned. Think about the money we're pouring into recovery. $5.5 billion you just heard Bill talk about. Imagine if 80% of those projects were never commissioned. How much money we could have wasted, or we can potentially waste. It's dangerous. We got to do something about it. Another changing dynamic about the people, over the next 25 years, this is a changing dynamic of the property manager and facilities manager of the future. Over the next 25 years, 1 in 4 property managers will have an IT degree. They'll have an IT background. Certified property managers. Interestingly enough, and we've talked about sustainability, and I can't remember who it was, during Steve Lee's conversation yesterday, he talked about the footprints changing for our folks. In 1800F, someone was sharing with me the Department of Labor, I think it was Les shared with me yesterday, Department of Labor's average cost per square footage per employee is about 400 square feet. That's bigger than Bob Peck's office. In the next 25 years, the average will be well below 100 square feet per person. That's just a changing dynamic in our facilities. Our people are going to have smaller space. We're going to have to react differently. They're going to have to be adaptable to change, adaptable to changing work environments and working in groups. Consequently, we're going to have information at our fingertips instantaneously and react to it instantaneously. Oops, I went backwards. From the gallery. You got me. All right, good. All right, so newsflash. Here's a reality. Computers and systems are in our buildings. That's the guy that did this to us, believe it or not. And every control system in our building, whether it's HVAC, lighting, you name it, is tied to a computer. So computers are in our buildings. Unfortunately, they're standalone systems. They don't talk to each other. They're complex. And I can tell you definitively, on a once-a-week basis, I'm hearing from folks in the region saying, I'm working with the CIO's office and I can't get this to work. And whose job is it? Whose role and responsibility is it? Is it them? Is it us? Who owns these systems? Why is it I can't do this? Why is it behind the firewall? The security procedures are becoming very, very cumbersome. All of this means we're actually making a lot of work for our CIO friends. The reality is we need them to be our partners in our organization. I know Phil Klokas and Ben Kachansky are working really hard to integrate the IT into the business lines. That's going to be a major change in dynamic, I hope, at the national headquarters that will help us produce better solutions for you in the regions. So the old way. We're going to have to build it differently. And obviously the old way, as I said, are standalone systems. So to give you a graphic in the smart buildings world, all right? So I'm going to give you a lesson in smart buildings. If there's any takeaway I want you to take away in this presentation, this is the slide, all right? So when I say, what is smart buildings? Smart buildings is open, systems that are open, converged, and normalized. All right, so work with me here. Smart buildings is what? Open, converged, normalized. Repeat it. Open, converged, normalized. Boy, they don't have a pulse. Apparently they were drinking last night. Come on. Open, converged, normalized. All right. The good news is you all have been trained in smart buildings. Now, what in the world does that mean? Because that's smart buildings talk, right? If Frank Santel and our consultants have been to your region and most of you talk to them, that's the smart buildings talk you hear. You say, well, I don't even know what it means. They were just here, but I don't know. Here's what it means. Number one, open. Our systems cannot be proprietary. They can't. Right now, our contractors are holding us at bay. We don't own the information. We're held hostage to proprietary systems. They have to be open. Our systems have to come together with one common interest. Most of you have heard about the IT strategy and how the spaghetti bowl, and none of our systems are really talking to each other. This is what converged means. Working with one common interest, a la the governance board you've heard of. This is really paramount of importance to the FMSP community. I know Rebecca Odell from Region 9 has graciously agreed to take the lead on our IT governance board. Rebecca and the FMSP directors have done a remarkable job working with our CIO's office to do that. This is a critical piece to getting our systems to work together. Finally, normalized. What does that mean? It means real-time, accurate information so that our folks on the front line can actually do something with the data. For example, a lot of you have heard about advanced meters going in buildings, right? And we're getting a techie talk. Advanced meters are going in buildings. When we see the information come in, we react to it and adjust our buildings in real time. We know if our customers are uncomfortable on one floor, we should be able to react to it in real time, instantaneously, at our fingertips. We don't have that capability today, and we should. The resistance. With change comes resistance. We know that. In fact, one of the conversations I've been having with Bob, I know is a paramount concern of every region and every leader who touches smart buildings is the people piece. Whether you're a property manager, construction manager, it is painful. Change is different. But the reality is, and I'm going to talk through some examples of some of the existing projects we have real examples of people who initially thought, I'm not sure I can buy into this. This takes me out of my comfort zone. I've got to deliver my project on time, on budget. Can't afford to change the scope. No, I don't think we're going to do that this time. We're going to change order it or value engineer it out, right? In the project management community. Here's the reality. It wasn't easy for LeBron to leave Cleveland. Well, it may have been, but it wasn't easy for LeBron to leave Cleveland, right? So he's having to deal with the aftermath. Interestingly enough, LeBron James came out with a big commercial release today. I'm not lying. I'm not making this stuff up, folks in Vegas. LeBron released a new commercial today about the indifference and challenges he has to deal with going to the Miami Heat. This is the kind of indifference we'll have to deal with. I understand that there's an uncomfortableness to changing the way we've done business for 60 years. The fear I have, and that all of you should probably start thinking about, is if we don't do this, the buildings will change on their own and we'll be left behind. Our customers in 10 years are going to expect things that we cannot deliver. We can't afford not to wait. Forget the cost factor we talked about, the $92 million that we could potentially save annually. Let's talk about the factor of our customers want real-time information now, and they want to feel the tenant experience has to be decidedly different than it was 40 years ago. We've changed the way the dynamics have worked, but we haven't changed our systems a whole lot, and we need to. Smart buildings equals smart people. It's kind of funny. Bill Gates said that smart people should have a pass in life. That's what his press release was today. I thought, well, that's pretty funny. We're talking smart people and smart buildings because the reality is smart buildings won't happen without smart people, and it starts with you all in the field. This is not about databases and technology and the protocols associated with it. This comes about what people do with information and how quickly they can react to the tenant experience. My commitment is that I will help you transform not only the properties, but your careers and how you react and understand the technology and changes in the technology in your everyday job. It's amazing how we've taken about 15 folks in our staff that didn't speak smart buildings 12 months ago, and today they know more about what's going on in the industry and around them than they did years ago, even before they knew the term smart building. The people that occupy the buildings, it's the agencies that reside in our building. You can see the tenant agencies. It's about our property managers that are on the front line balancing the comfort and performance, obviously with the operational challenges. So what does this all mean? It should lead us to enabling us to reach to develop better decisions in real time. I'm going to show you a quick clip. We worked with IDEO. Most of you may not have heard of who IDEO is. IDEO is a phenomenal company that works out of California that focuses on the human behavior and change in human behavior. They went out and met with, in fact, I know regions 7, 8, and 9, and 10, and interviewed a good handful of you folks. In the interview process, we didn't tell them what we wanted as the outcome. IDEO went out and interviewed you all and developed a strategy for us to deal with the people side of smart buildings. This is what it would look like as I go through this. And what I want you to focus on is I've talked about buildings, information, buildings, technology, and people. With the people side, at the end of the day, delivering that, this is how it all comes together. This is what it looks like.
Property managers have hundreds of decisions to make every day, and many stakeholders to consider. And when the unexpected happens, it's hard to keep everyone happy. Dashboards can enable easier, better, and more impactful decisions. Building efficiency is important, but what managers care about most is tenant satisfaction. What if a dashboard could monitor the happiness of building occupants, like it monitors energy? Managers could confidently implement practices that meet energy goals, make tenants happy, and increase the true performance of their building. It's no longer about data. It's about what people do with data that matters.
So again, just a quick snapshot as to how all that comes to fruition and how it would actually work for the frontline folks. Again, not easy, different, but that's how the ebb and flow would work on a smart building and how the people side and the property manager would interact. So who's getting smart? Right now we have 30 recovery projects. I know that Jeff talked about 50 UMP being one of the showcase ones for Region 9, East Green Window White, and Region 10. There were 30 core recovery projects, and then there's the Fast 50, what we call the retrofit projects. Most of you in the service centers, if you're here from the service centers, you're hearing more about the Fast 50 than you would the recovery. Obviously, our target is the energy savings and operational savings. Why? Because of the slide I showed you. We identified these buildings as the best chance we have to implement and have major savings using a smart building strategy in the next 12 months. So we knew that's how we targeted it. We didn't just randomly say, okay, let's just pick 30 AERA projects and 50 Fast 50 projects and just declare victory. We were very strategic about how we placed these. Every region has a smart building project. Some of you are a little further along than others. That's okay. But the reality is everyone has one, and everyone's going to have a win here shortly. I want to give some credit. Obviously, there's so much credit to be had, but two examples come to mind. Number one, the San Francisco Federal Building, and I know your team is here, Jeff, right? Where's the San Francisco Federal Building team? Hey, Jim, there you are. When you walked in that building, there's a video wall. That video wall initially had, I'll call it TV stuff on it, whether it was CNN, the stock market, whatever. We've worked with Region 9 to model what that dashboard is that you just saw. So now the tenant experience will change. When they walk in that building, they'll actually see real-time information changing and what the impact was of that individual walking in the building was in real time on a dashboard at the front video wall. So now your tenant feels what it's like to impact a building operation. The philosophy that IDEO taught us was if your tenants learn to walk in and see that they're impacting and every move they make impacts your operation, whether it's at the desktop or they walk in the front door, they will quickly be enablers to helping you to better efficiency. Sitting at their desk, they'll probably start remembering the video they just saw as they walked in the building and said, ooh, energy went up as I walked in. Maybe I ought to turn my computer off. That's the power of dashboards. That's the power of a video wall. Edith Green Wendell Wyatt team, you here? Rob Graff, where's your Edith Green team? Anyone here from Edith Green? There they are. I want to give a quick applause to these guys. These guys have been a model. If not for these folks, they did a great job. I know Frank Centella and our consultant teams went out there, and initially, I know the big concern was, oh my gosh, don't screw up our project, right? What do these crazy people from central office want now, right? But we worked with you all, and we've gotten there. We now have a model that can follow, that every one of these regions can follow, and every project can follow now. Our first narrative document came from the Edith Green Project. So you all are going to be a huge leader in what the future of smart buildings looks like for PBS. So thanks for what you all have done. I guess I shouldn't put the clicker in my pocket. You just can't click in it. If we had that mentalist, he could have known that I wanted to change the picture. So we're making the market. Amazing how we started this in February of 2009. I attended a RealComm conference in Chicago. I went there, and I was the only facilities person in a room full of CIOs for an organization that drives relationships between facilities management and IT. I was the only facilities executive in the room. It was interesting, and I thought, well, this can't be too good. In just 12 months, we formed relationships with every one of these companies you see on the screen. Every company, when we got there, was trying to sell us a smart buildings package product. Not one of the products met our needs because there is no cookie-cutter approach to smart buildings. In the first 3 months, we spent so much time trying to focus on defining what smart buildings was. From my perspective, and I explained this to Dave Foley, Tony Costa, and Bob Peck, I take ownership for spending 4 months trying to define what smart buildings was and coming up with nothing. We wasted too much time worried about defining it versus doing it. Once we started doing it and talking to these companies, we realized that no, we're going to make the market. These companies are going to develop products that will work for us across our entire inventory, not sell us a product that will be forced down our throat that won't work and consequently making it painful for you all to run your buildings. Real story. We got some of these companies on the screen, and I won't name them because they're big companies. They were insistent on proprietary information. We had sit-down conversations with their CEO, and he said to us, you will lose us as a provider of service if you go this route. 6 months later, in June of 2010 actually, Rob Graff, Kelly Russell, and a handful of folks, we held an industry roundtable in Las Vegas, right down the road here, with all these industry experts and some of the top CIOs with some of these companies. Consequently, all of them have joined our bandwagon that there is no cookie-cutter product, and the company that said, we won't play with you all, now has a product that is non-proprietary. They're working to get on schedule with that product. They're a big provider of ours currently. And so for a company to say, we won't play with you all, it's amazing how we've changed the market. So I want to give thanks to Rob Graff, Kelly Russell, I know, and others that came out. Kevin Campshire was out with us. That meeting was pivotal in June, and this is how we made the market. We've become friends with Jim Young, who's the CEO of RealComm, who's been a huge advocate. He featured Bob Peck on the cover of RealComm, and the publicity we got from that was just really phenomenal. I want to share a clip with an endorsement that Jim has given us Jim Young is the world expert, a known world expert on smart buildings. He has traveled the world, and he's working with the government of Dubai. So everyone's seen those buildings on a Discovery Channel, those buildings that go up, and they build them up in like 6 months, kind of ridiculous. No pressure lesson, Bill. They build those buildings in 6 months, and they're smart buildings, and it's amazing. He came back, and when we first met Jim, Jim said, you know, Larry, here's what I hear, and here's what's frustrating to me. I come back to the U.S., and the people overseas are saying, you know what, we're going to come to the U.S., and we're going to run your buildings because you don't know how to do it. And Jim says, wait a minute, we know how to do this. We've got people who are brilliant at this. The government of Dubai and these organizations who are providing the service to the government of Dubai have already set up shop in New Jersey and set up U.S. operations here to offer smart building strategy across the nation because they're not confident that we can do it in the U.S. It's interesting how we're making the market, and I have a little testimonial here from Jim Young, who's given us a great endorsement worldwide about the work we're doing.
Hello everyone, my name is Jim Young, CEO of RealCom, the world's largest conference on commercial real estate and technology. The world is changing quickly, and 6 billion new people on the planet will dramatically impact how we live and specifically how we use commercial space. Whether it's natural resource constraint or CO2 emission reduction, we simply have to manage and use our space in the most efficient manners. I'm also proud to say that GSA PBS is one of the leaders in the charge to reinvent how we operate our buildings. We featured Bob Peck on the cover of our magazine, and both Larry Melton and Kevin Kampshire have participated at a high level in our conferences because we know that something special is going on inside GSA PBS. We've seen a lot of innovation in the building industry, and I'm excited and proud to say that the energy I see coming from our federal government regarding intelligent infrastructure is extraordinary. I'm confident that if this focus and pace continues, that we will not only spend our taxpayer dollars correctly, but we will soon become the benchmark for smart, connected, intelligent infrastructure in the world. If we do this right, we can show the world once again that the U.S. is the leader in big ideas and innovative thinking. Congratulations on the fast start in this transformation. The industry is watching, and we will be there to help in any way we can.
Again, thanks for my colleagues for joining us for that kickoff with RealCom. We're going to do it again, and David Hood's going to join me in Chicago in a couple weeks for another roundtable with the RealCom and all those industry folks. In closing, final comment I want to make, and I guess I'll open up to questions if we have time, is we're not going to declare victory in a month. We won't declare victory in 6 months or 12 months. We won't have every one of our 1,500 facilities, or 1,500 owned facilities, in a smart buildings model tomorrow. So what we need to figure out is, okay, what can we do? We have the 30 recovery projects. We have the Fast 50. Let's get those done. Let's measure. Let's figure out what we learned from it, and then start to integrate it in our facilities across the board. But the one thing we need to prepare for now is the people piece. It's the mindset. We need a commitment from all of you that it makes sense. And I know this is a 30-minute presentation, and you won't get everything you need out of this, but I would love to spend more time with you all. We'll talk some more about how this will change and transform PBS, and hopefully transform for the right reasons. So thanks. Do I have time for questions or questions?
Hi, this is Maurice with FAST again, sorry. One of the things that the questions, or one of the things that I would put on the table as an offering, is that there's a lot of expertise, you know, building on the idea of what you're talking about with people and the relationships and that type of thing. But there's a lot of expertise and knowledge on the FAST side of the house. And as you well know, there's a lot of resources as well, financially and otherwise. And I think that in the spirit of the collaboration piece and all of that we've been talking about, that there's an opportunity there for us to work together in order to achieve the smart building success. And so I would just put that out there for consideration as well.
No, great comment, thanks. We would be silly, as we were sitting there thinking about the texting we were doing, the smart buildings program, model, initiative, whatever we want to call it, we would be silly not to partner with FAST on this one. I know I've been working very closely with Ed O'Hare. I didn't say that in my presentation. I probably should have. I've been working very close with Ed O'Hare. about how fast can create some sort of offering, whether it's the backbone of the building, you know, in that New Way model. Remember the model of the New Way? It was that one piece of backbone going through the building. I'm speaking tech talk, so somebody just throws something at me, it makes no sense. But that backbone in the building is something that FAST has as a product. We've got to figure out how to have that relationship and leverage that relationship to integrate FAST into the solution. Yes. Hey, George.
George Russo from RA Region 10. Do you have any suggestions as to roles RAs can play with RCs and regions to move this message forward? From your perspective and all the things you've heard, can you give us some suggestions how we can take this message back to our regions and make your vision a reality?
Yeah, great question. How can the RAs help and leverage the message? First and foremost, and I want to emphasize, we won't be able to declare victory, and we can't just go out and say we're doing it. Sit down, just do it, and just do what we're saying and follow the model. One thing we need everyone to do is stand behind the message that it's a change in the way we've done business for 60 years. This is not the norm. We have to maximize technology in our facilities, and that takes people out of their comfort level because most people don't have a technology background. I did not. But I've gotten around to the smart buildings piece in the last 5 years in facilities, and I knew that's where the industry was changing, so I knew I had to adjust. The big thing is be patient with your folks, but somehow message it to the people that, look, you have to learn the technology if you're in facilities, and you have to help carry the message that it's the buildings, technology, and people piece, and the people piece, and getting the people ready is going to be the biggest challenge. I know that's the piece that Bob and I talk about, that if there's something that will keep me up at night, it's the people piece. It's how are we going to get everybody to understand what a backbone is, or how do we manage the service in a building now when a server goes down, how does the property manager react? All those resistance items that we talked about in the resistance slide, we know they're there. Project managers are notoriously going to say, you know, hey, you know, going to screw up my timeline, going to screw up my budget, my RC's on my tail about this. You know, the Edith Green team, you all did a great job. I don't want to just keep going on it, but we got pushback from the Edith Green team. We heard that, you know, this isn't going to work, you're going to mess up my schedule, and I can't afford to. That's the norm. We got to get people to understand that smart buildings really won't cost you that much more money, but understanding there's a big learning curve in the people piece, and people just need to let their guard down and say, okay, kind of what is it? It's the Bob question of what is it? Now that I understand what it is, it's the building technology and people. Okay, now what's my role with it? We need to establish some roles.
Hey, Larry, this
is
Ann. Hi, Ann Crowley, Region 10. You kind of touched on it just there a little bit about getting people prepared, but you know, as a former property manager, when you said property managers are going to have to it's about smart people having an IT background, not having an IT background, how are we going to get people ready? I mean, Edith Green is a perfect example. Where I work right now, we've got to write the contracts to make sure that we can get all this new technology, get it running right. I mean, obviously, there's no resistance on our part, but we're a little nervous.
And here's the reality. We don't have the skill sets sitting in our organizations today to have every one of these solutions. Oh, there's Maurice, right? Maurice is going to save the day. Sorry, I forgot Maurice is there. Again, it is a great answer is we need to partner with FAST because while we don't have that skill set, FAST does. I'm looking at Tim Horn and I'm saying, you know, you guys have a skill set that we inherently don't have. If they could help us with the managed service piece, we could probably figure this out pretty quickly. That said, on the education side, one of the things we're talking about is what does the certified training requirement and curriculum look like for a property manager to get them up to speed? And there's kind of two paths. One, there's the grandfather clause of we need to go deal with the people who have been here forever running buildings and need to deal with it differently and start teaching them the basics of IT and smart buildings infrastructure. That's number one. Consequently, going forward to the future, one of the discussions I just had with the regional commissioners at our last offsite was that we have to change what the future property manager looks like. Whether that means writing the new standard for 1176 or rewriting a new position description for a property manager, I think the reality is if we don't do that, we will never be recruiting the right people. Those statistics I shared with you came from national industry. They're the latest that came from Institute of Real Estate Management. That's real data where the industry is going. I'm hearing the same things when I sit at the round table with Jim Young and the CIOs and CEOs, what they're looking for. They're recruiting network engineers and system engineers to run their facilities. They're no longer recruiting MBAs or business majors. It's crazy because we're still doing that. And that makes sense for our current model. And you know, when I thought about it, and the president of Ave Maria University, for those of you who don't know, that's down in Tampa, Florida. It's the Domino's, the founder of Domino's created the complex. It's the first smart city, 100% wired. Every one of their employees they hired in a management position has an IT degree. Consequently, all of them work in facilities management. None of them work in the CIO's office. 100% of their facilities group have an IT background. Their theory was we can teach them the facilities and the business of commercial real estate that inherently folks are coming into the industry not knowing IT and systems engineering. That's the complexity of this. So as we go through this, yeah, we're going to have to kind of take several paths of learning. But let's calibrate it too. Yeah.
Hi, Larry. Arlene Kinder from Region 8. I was wondering, is there any intention of making all the buildings PBS has or GSA has PV ready, photovoltaic ready? I work a lot with the military, and they're getting all their buildings ready for funding for PV.
I've not heard that. Les or Bill, I don't know if you've heard that. No, I have not heard that. Obviously, our first step, our number one goal for smart buildings out of the box is to get as many advanced meter and sub-meters in place as possible. The reason for that is we need data. With data, we can react to what our needs are. Right now, there's data all over the organization. It's the big discussion we keep having with Laney Reed is, you know, every time I'm having a conversation with Laney, our CGO, we're running around trying to pull from this database or that database. That's crazy. How can we not have the data at our fingertips of our facilities? It starts with advanced meters. That's our number one priority. I'll research that. I had not heard the DoD facilities were making all their facilities PV ready. I had not heard that.
Larry, hi. Rick Russo from Region 10, right in front.
Oh, there you are. Sorry.
Hey, it's easy to see from the slides that you had the cost savings that we would benefit from the smart building technology, but it's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going into a second year of a CR, continuing resolution. So I just want to know what the plan was to pay for this.
Great question. The cost is 86 cents per square foot with a 52-cent earnings or return on investment. There's a 1.5 year payback on that $92 million. So we don't need to, I don't need to go to Bob and Portfolio and say I need $150 million to go do all these buildings and smart buildings. We can do it in segments. Let's do 15, 20 buildings at a time and spend $1 million here, $1 million there, and start recognizing those savings. Now, I don't want to put all our stock, I'm going to emphasize this, don't want to put all our stock in just the smart buildings strategy as a cost savings. There are other things in the utility, cleaning, maintenance that we got to do better too to drive those costs down. Obviously, our energy consumption is going to keep dropping, and our goals will continue to force that. But we've got to do other things too in sequence and in correlation with the smart building strategy. But it's about 86 cents per square foot with a 52 cents per payback. Yeah. I know I'm out of time. You going to give me the hook? It is? Somebody play music or something so I can go.
Yeah, we can do this offline if he needs to.
Okay. All right. Thanks for having me.
I'm too sexy for my love. Too sexy for my love.
Good job, Larry.
I can't leave yet.
Actually, good game.
Oh, yeah.
Good game.
Good
Up top,
game.
buddy. All right. Go hit the showers.
Thanks a lot.